Hello and welcome back to the channel, and we're going to play another one of our World Cup design courses, and this one we've got the final course in group F, so therefore we can actually start ranking one of the groups. And we've got Provincetown Dunes from bighockeyguy, who's had a course in CC that I liked and did a playthrough for. I think I can't remember the name of it. Like, there's so many of those. Anyway, we're playing off black tees, he says, and let's go with who? Any winds, default firmness and speeds, default greens, cool. This course is designed to look more intimidating than it plays, and nothing else of particular note. So let's go medium and let's go west for a change. Everything else at defaults. I'll leap right in. Now,
this is a nice idea.
Excellent. So we have a couple of blurps on, which will be an interesting thing to see. So my children contributed a few choice sound bites. Right. Anyway, be sparing with them for the purposes of playthroughs. Now, so definitely dunes, lighthouse, obligatory, sure. We've got a river running all the way through, so it's essentially two separate islands, I guess. I think I would have probably liked to see this tethered to the, like, I always think with the island plot thing, it's a little bit crutching on the ocean, and I tend to prefer it when we can do not doing that, because it gives you more variety, simply, both visual and playability. And when you chuck ocean on all sides, which it can be doable, you just kind of end up with the same looks a lot of the time. So it'll be interesting to see how that one works. Lots of big sandy waste areas. I mean, a ton of time has gone into this, and we love seeing people take the competition very seriously. Planting looks great. Yeah, I think so. So, I don't know. I would have connected it. I like the Delta coastline plot, or backdrop even. I really like the look of the plot. I mean, the road going all the way around the outside is like one of those things where, like, would that be where it would be in real life? And if so, why would you not be building the course over here? And yeah, stuff like that. I don't think we need the road all the way around the outside, personally. If you're going fantasy and you're building on an island, it's probably not going to happen. But we have big islands, big wide surfaces. So hopefully finding a fairway shouldn't be too problematic. But it looks like it shrinks significantly nearer the green. Yeah, this is interesting. Well, again, we don't need roads, this is true. And you got a lighthouse off in the distance. I mean, you can tell the work that's gone into this. It's really interesting. So, Rhino and Petty, and who's the other one in this group? No Goal. It's been a pretty strong group so far. We haven't had many weak ones, but yeah. Right, I'm not entirely. Oh yeah, I was going to say I'm not entirely sure where we are, and then suddenly we ran it back on the clubhouse, I think. Which, yeah, clubhouse game could probably use a little bit of work. I'm assuming that is the clubhouse, or it's a maybe not. No, it is. Anyway, back to here, and you can see we've gone. I hate the way the game does this. Like, we've clearly gone for noon lighting because it's glaring on the right hand side of the screen, but it doesn't really yeah, crazy. All right, good group. That is a lot of pubs, exactly, but you got to make the most of the objects. Alrighty, first tee shot, first hole looks really good. You've done the big bunker coming out of this area really nicely. I probably would have gotten rid of these couple of bits because it's making the sculpting a little bit. This is because you've got brushes that aren't overlapping, so they're kind of popping up a little bit. But I really like how this is framed, and yeah, it works very well. I kind of think with you got this much fairway, you probably want a little bit more than this tiny little bit of light rough, or just do away with it altogether. But I do prefer having light rough with the way this game kind of treats heavy rough textures.
I don't hate this.
Thanks, Saucy, I agree. Or Rory, rather. T-box is very slopey, so you can see down here it's dipping off massively. Like, you want to flatten these out. And it does feel a little bit weird that we've just got simple square tee shots. The tributary, as Jamie says, is done phenomenally, and I love the colours of things you've chosen. This tree I used on Emery Beach, and it only really works very well in this kind of muted lighting, but when it does, it looks so good. And the new kind of like pines dug in there, like this is really cool. Choices of grasses, really good. Yeah, visually, one of the strongest groups I imagine that we will have. Anyway, I think it's just a question of getting it down the fairway somewhere. I don't think I get much of a reward. Well, I can't take on the bunker. I guess if I bail out right, I'm bringing this a little more into play, but you could have possibly tucked the green a little bit further back if you wanted to make that. Additionally, you're asking for all carry to here. So if you've got a front pin, you've basically got to land it on a sixpence and stop it. I think you gain more. Generally, you've got your hazards in the right place. You just need to move the green back a little bit, because then you get the landing zone to roll it onto a front pin, and you allow people who are bailing out a bit more room to fade a ball in and land it and run on. And you're also bringing this more into play. Green slopes are good. I think Group F has got a wake up call. If this keeps this up, could be a lot of fun. Yeah, this is the sort of green I would expect, like little shelves and pockets, not one big tier. Like you can see here's broken up with a half tier here and it gets softer in the middle. Yeah, it's a really, really strong opening hole. .143 is a sensible green speed as well. Nice. I mean, if we're nitpicking, we can probably suggest that there's a few more grasses mixed in, and I think just this area in front of the tee, like everything else looks great, but then we've just got this like patchy kind of heavy rough. Like brown that out a little bit more, maybe. And that's the second hole where you've given us nowhere really to land it. Now, it doesn't hugely matter, I guess, if it's a pitching wedge only. 140s are the new 170s. Yeah, your flattening of tee boxes, it's not a major thing. I really don't care that much, but it is something you'd want to watch. I was questioning whether we needed this bit of fairway or these bunkers at all. I think I'd probably be losing. I don't know. I feel like this hole would look much more intimidating if you lost these two bunkers and just brought the waist bunker in. Like nobody's using this fairway anyway. You can have some back apron if you want it, really, and a little bit of front apron would be great. But just have all of this be the waist bunker. It would look really scary. Because as is, from here, I almost can't really tell that it's waist bunker as much because you're just focused on those two little bunkers which look less intimidating. I do like that we're looking back to the clubhouse, like the big view on the plot's great. Yeah. I think Rhino's scared right now. Is my guess. Petty won't care. Yeah. That's my thoughts, yeah. Okay, nice little staircase up to the next tee. So, third tee shot. Okay, so we're kind of allowing more fairway out here, but I don't really think you can reach it. I guess downwind, or if you're taking the longest right. Well, I guess you're asking people to overpower the bunker with that and just try and. What am I looking for? Hit a 100+% drive. Green sloping on this one's a bit more random. Like it's falling in, it's falling back, it's falling down this way, it's falling off here, it's falling in here and in here. And like you can get away with that stuff with links greens, but you still want them to feel like there was a plan. Yeah, you don't. This is true. And like you don't want to end up with multiple double breakers on a green, which I think we're going to end up with on this one. This hole does less for me than the previous two. This is the first one that just kind of, it exists, it's fine. But you're not really asking, I don't see what the question is that we're asking here. At least not to this pin. This pin is just hit a drive to the middle of the fairway, hit a 7-iron, and that's always the risk if you go with really wide surfaces. You've got to make those angles matter, because if you get that part wrong, then it kind of all falls apart. People, I said this a lot in CC, people think that really big and wide is easy and like immediately generates angles. It only does if they matter. Yeah, I mean, me too, you know that. Okay, this is an interesting one because we've got this huge fairway and tiny green. I mean, here we've gone a bit too big again on width. I think you could have a much more cohesive golf hole by having this. I kind of said similar on Kilcorran, if you remember that playthrough. Like, this is 150 yards wide, would be my guess. And yet, it doesn't really, like, the further right I go, I get a slightly better angle, but really just anywhere is fine. So as long as as long as I hit the fairway. I tried to hit a partial and screwed it up, but like, there's no massive benefit for hitting more one side than the other. There's a little bit of a benefit for not going too far left, which is odd in a way, because that's actually, strikes me that would be the area to have the smart layup, and then down here is where you get stymied for the angle. I think, again, just angling the green that way, tucking it a bit more behind this bunker, I can play driver down here and I end up with a short shot, but it's over a bunker. It could, yeah, and I think we're seeing meter issues because we used a lother plot. So like this area to the left of the green, which we'll see in a second, it's a bit empty for sure. And you do get some sand dunes, but you'd want some scrub stuff down here and it not just going from all the planting to nothing. And I maintain that road is not helping us. It was classic, Ben. This is what we do. Oh, nearly hold a good putt, though. I think the standard bunkering does. I think the waste bunkers look good. And so on the first hole, those were really nice. And like these bits, these Junie bits look great, where you've planted them and integrated. And here as well, like, I think this looks awesome. This, less so. And additionally, you're kind of, we can't really see half this bunker. It's kind of falling in on itself a bit. Yeah. And once more, the tributary looks great, but your eye is drawn a bit to the empty areas out here. So I mean, it feels like it must be meter related. It doesn't seem like there's a lot of stuff, but this doesn't seem like the sort of thing that would make me think you're at 100%. I like the Brayward. Well, I don't really understand why we've got them. But okay. Green slips again a little, well, maybe a little on the random side, but they're okay. I think the angular green doesn't really quite fit. You've got a lot of curvaceous shapes around it, and then suddenly it's cutting in and it's just like a Y. I think if you do angled shapes, it's usually because there's a feature here that is kind of man-made, whether it's a runoff or a mound or something like that. If you look at the Ross shapes, that's typically why they are the way they are. This one, though, is a better tee shot because I can play up here and I am looking behind the bunker, and like that's my approach shot, or I play down to the left and I look down the throat of the green. And that comes because you've got green orientation right. Well, here goes nothing. Yeah, was always a possibility. It's a long approach. That's okay. You can also see like little bits that I would try to do slightly differently because of the planting you've done and the width. You've tried to keep it massive the whole way. where it is close to your playable surfaces, you want to be scaling these grasses down so that it doesn't look like the grass is Jurassic. It takes people out of the round a little bit, and it's also just an attention to detail thing that, like, when people see that you're doing that, it makes them realise the amount of care and attention you've put into the course. Hey, Panda. Oh, that was very slow. Okay, still just one under, but yeah, going well. And this is a really wide corridor. I love the way you've... what you've done nicely, I think, which is why I'm slightly struggling with the meter issues if we're having them, is I think you've made your planting go quite a long way. So unless you've been multi-planting grass, which I don't think you have been, I think these rocks look great. These look great. I agree that the bunkers, the standard bunkers you've used, are still not... they're not really working, but these ones really are. I'd have just kind of gone as much like... try to make these big and bold and as much like mirroring the dune land as you can. Again, I don't think it really matters where I hit it, as long as I avoid those bunkers, but you give me loads of fairway here, so we should do. I like the creek usage, so we've gone over it on a tee shot, and we've had it to the left on the previous hole, so we've done different things. I think this one could have been really cool if you take that bunker and work it back into the green more, lion's mouth of sorts. Now here you'll see that you've got some texturing issues around this bunker. It's not been... I don't know if it... either it's been dropped, like you put the shape straight in, which I think is what's happened, because the fairway's getting a bit odd on you. You might have splined the bottom of it, but the rest of it is shapes. Like, you want to clean up this. Like, have a ring of rough. Fancy a competition? We're going to have one coming up later this month. So I believe, I don't want to steal Matt's thunder and tell everyone what it is, but Matt will be running this one, and we should be hearing about what it is in about a week or so. So do keep your eyes peeled if you're watching this, whether on demand or in chat. Yeah. And I think it would be one you'd enjoy, Jamie. Nope, it's Matt's to tell, not mine. We had originally said National Treasure, but we're not going to go with National Treasure. Of course you can play. It is a different one. It's one we've had before, which I haven't had for a while. And I've probably given away too much, but hey. Yeah, similar thing with this bunker. Like, I think one way in which you could have done this and gotten away with it would have just been used to remove heavy rough brush around it. Would work nicely. No comment, Jamie. But yes, we're going back to major. So I have completely stolen Matt's thunder. But major will be great, I think, and I believe it's going to be a pretty open entry. He's finalising the details, but I absolutely adore the planting you've done down here. I think this looks so good, works really well. I would love you to have shrunk this grass a bit rather than just buried it. But I think that looks great. The bunkering just generally is not really working. Or at least the standard bunkering. Good par 5 green site. Yeah. Go down this side. Yeah, okay, just about. You'll manage. When should you hear about it? Well, unfortunately, I keep extending the deadline for this contest because HB keep giving us crashes. Thanks, Panda. So, Matt wants to announce... I suspect you'll see a sign-up thread in a week to 10 days or so. Yes, back to the course. I really like. It's a good par 5s as a transition hole going uphill are a really good move for a couple of reasons. One, you can generally cover that big elevation on one hole and do it therefore more gradually. And two, you can just do more creative things with par 5s, and people don't mind if they can't go for the green in 2. So I think that makes a lot of sense. You've done it really nicely. It is a transition hole, but it's a really interesting one, and certainly that tee shot with the visuals really carried it off well. The land around the green's quite flat, though. I'd kind of want to see something going on, and for all the really interesting bold dune land you've got, I would like to see a bit more of it incorporated into the fairways and the golf holes themselves. Like, have that. Yeah, I mean, to be fair, that is kind of true, Sleepy. But yeah, I think you could have some wilder fairways, like bring these contours in, because they're there, they're just smaller ones, and like, yeah. Okay. 403 down 58. This green site works a lot better. I love the staggered bunkers. I think those two work really nicely. Still not loving the shapes. I think, if anything, they're just looking a little bit formalized. Like, make them really ragged. Go like, I mean, with Matty in chat, but like Matty's like bunker style is generally pretty ragged, and like the shapes, whilst they're really carefully considered, they are random at their core. These feel more like you painted out a shape, and like, and I say that knowing full well because that's how I certainly did this sort of course. Like, there's a lot of the things you're doing on here that I did on Cayuma Bay, and kind of now looking back would have changed. Which means, like, at the core, there's a lot of really good things going on. That course did all right. Okay, straight back towards the clubhouse. I would love to see the water more. I think lose some of the sand. Like, the water is your best hazard on this hole. Show that off. Lose this bunker, I reckon. Tuck the green nearer the water. Excellent. You're a hero. It's not been that bad. It's certainly not as bad as the previous ones. At least not for me. But yeah, you're doing God's work, buddy. And I think for a green this big, chuck some really bold contours on it as well. Like, let us really move the ball around when it lands. Like, give us, other than this one, give us some red slopes somewhere in the middle. Like, I don't know, put a mound in the middle that directs balls this way and this way and this way and this way and makes things really interesting. Put a big 2-foot tier in it somewhere, or like kicker slope. I do love the planting though. I think you've done such a good job there. That's missed. Still feel the clubhouse doesn't quite, I mean, doesn't really fit with the plot either. I'd see something more wooden and rustic, for lack of a better word. Okay, so here we've got your big camber, which obviously is good. This bunker is looking better. That's more ragged and less formal, and the planting coming in always ties it in better. Probably consider joining. It's just PC only, and processors is a mix. With the fairways this close together, just join them. Like, you've used fairway absolutely everywhere. Join them, make it one fairway. That would make this work much, much better and stop you having to worry about the planting so much. And like, if people want to play out here, let them. It's fine. So you don't need this bunker if you're thinking of this one to protect against this tee shot. If someone wants to hit a driver down here and potentially roll out into there, let them do it. We haven't had any of these little mounds. You had one on the first hole that had that little bunker dug into it, but it was kind of a bunker mound. And it's not that I dislike them. I don't think you need two of them in such close proximity and the bunker. I'd have lost this one and probably move this one back 5 feet, and then you have that one there, bunker here, and like, you can thread the needle if you want and get up to there, or you play down here, and then you're just segmenting the landing area a little bit too much. Yeah. Something like that. It doesn't, like, but you definitely only need one of them, I think. And the green site again, I love this bit of planting. I'd love to see some kind of planting around here, like, because this was a bit underwhelming considering all the cool vegetation around it. I'm trying to give you, the usual disclaimer. I'm trying to give you as much as you can possibly get, because there's loads about this I like, and hopefully you're getting that as well. But yeah, if we see things, we'll say them. But I do feel you must be struggling with meter at this point. Yeah, we've got green breaks kind of going everywhere, so like be going that way, dropping off here, dropping off there, in, towards down here. I think this one could have used a little bit of a flatten and just... It's not so much for the flatten, it's more just having some cohesion to it and knowing what the green's trying to do. Yeah, this one straight up just doesn't work for me, I'm afraid. I can see that we're kind of offering a bit of a route in here. Hey, Brendan, you would have added a tree. Tree would have worked. Like, some of this stuff, sure. So basically, as long as I don't get in the bunker, we're fine. Well, we'll try and play the way it should be played. So somewhere out here, but if it doesn't kick off, it doesn't matter because I'm now pitching back up. You better bloody finish, Matthew. Not a good chip. I feel this hole just needed... Really, it needs more land movement and the green not being in the centre. It's just, it being in the centre and all the space being around it feels a little odd. You don't really see very many that do this. And Matty's all about the community. And yet this one, stunning look. Really, really pretty. That bunker's great. I would probably like another bunker or something around this half of the green. I think we've got the best pin for this green, for sure. It desperately needs something else going on this side. I think, honestly, another bunker there wrapping around the back would be brilliant. We do like waterfalls. And the side on green for a par 3 is not something you've done yet, and it works really well on a short hole. Ooh. Where we're requiring distance control a little bit more, so this is a really good move. Yeah, I like the par 3. Given that you're going distance control though, I think it works really well to this pin. Here you're giving us a backstop. I'd have taken that out and just kept this shallow, maybe. Or like, I don't know, have a tier where you're playing into that distance control a little bit more. More than 4. Someone's really trying to win. Another missed putt. Yeah, we will. Another really good look off the tee, and okay, so big time cut the corner possibilities. Or you play out to here. Or if you're playing 3-wood, you get absolutely squeezed to hell. So if you have a shorter driver on this hole, you are into a headwind, you are screwed. I think that's one. This is the first one where I feel like your tee shot has gotten away from you a bit. You don't need this bunker here. You would probably want more fairway cutting out here anyway, because you want people with the lesser driver to be able to take this tee shot on, because if not, it's a forced layup to 5-wood, which is not much fun for anyone. So I've got 305 and I'm only just getting there. Someone with the 280, and there's quite a few that do play that on TC. They're not getting there. We're starting to get there with the land movement. I think you can go bolder still, but this is fun. Definitely playing the fast today, aren't we? Quiet, come in. Hey, Teach. Of course, does play quite long. Yeah, definitely. I'm okay with long in the sense that it gives you a lot of opportunities to hit ground, like hit the ball short and roll it on. Because if you go short wedge shots, it just doesn't happen. So like, you can't judge a course purely by the distance and go, oh, it's a long course, because you can have, like, give you some examples. You can have Windstone at 7,600 yards, which doesn't play anywhere near as long as that. You have Barton Hills at 6,900 yards, which plays phenomenally long. Yes, it could have been, but I'm liking the planting. I think we ran into meter issues, and I think a lot of that is the plot design as well. I really like the space this hole occupies. The bunker just feels a little small in comparison to the fairway, and it's kind of facing the wrong way, which is why you've had problems sculpting it, because it's kind of facing out this way. If you're doing this, you want to diagonal it that way, so that way it would show off more of the sand, and then it's going to be easier for you to sculpt it, etc. I think this might be one of my favourite holes. I really like the tee shot. I think every time you've had the creek involved, the course has been really good. Yeah, I know these exist. I just feel they're out of place on this course. Great look into the green. That fronting bunker actually, this works really nicely. Tie this into the dune again, and just like when your course has been really close to the dunes, it's looked awesome. The further it's gotten away from those, or like taken those away from the line of play, it's started to falter a bit more. No, dead straight. Probably pushed it, but still 4 under. Right, it's definitely not as easy as the width would have you suspect. Okay, bit more of an elevated green. I feel like you could have made this one a real knee knocker and just had big runoff short, runoff long, and just made it like you're hitting a wedge shot. You've got to get the distance right. If not, you're coming back 20, 30 yards. Like, do this on the back. I think would be really interesting. Okay. That covers the next hole, I assume. It's a lot of fairway. I feel like we were starting to run out of plant meter at this point. On this one, I do want a full wedge, so we're gonna hit down here. Which is nice. That's the first tee shot in a while that's made me kind of do something different. Okay, I think wind and elevation probably about cancel each other out. Yeah, well, it's good for distance. That's one of my favourite holes on the course. 2 really good ones in a row. That's just because it did something a little bit different. It asked a slightly different question and put together really nicely. 16. So now we're heading down the other half of this fairway. Okay, so potential of running into the creek, I guess. Got to say, the waterway coming here with the dunes dropping into the sea there feels really odd. That doesn't really happen. I like the bunkers on this side. I like that. This one cutting in again, because it's probably using the remove heavy rough brush, like making it blend in nicely. That works well. Let's see. Oh, this one has 2 greens. Oh, don't do this. It doesn't. We don't need 2 greens on this hole. This is a. If you're going to do that, I think you want to do it on more than one hole. And I think there's got to be a really good reason, i.e. there's got to be 2 green sites and you couldn't pass up on either of them. This one I could pass up on. This one's better. Have this one. I do like the smaller green though. Like, that part of this is interesting. But this green just doesn't really have very much interest around it. It's all kind of flat, and this one needed more of your more of your ideas or time or attention. But again, like, solid golf hole, and at least we're doing something a bit different. Like, yeah, okay, the idea is not a complete hit, but like, it didn't need much more. It just needed a bit more. Like, that top green had real interest, the bottom one didn't so much. But at least we're trying things, and the smaller green makes it memorable, and yeah, kudos for that. Okay, out to the lighthouse. Good, our long par 3, which gives us ground game options, and planting is definitely starting to feel a little sparser. Although the area around, like the coastal planting and the clumps you've done, they look really good. There's so much here I like. Oops. Moved a bit too far away. Yeah, I mean, it's entirely my own fault. I cannot judge a course based on a bad bounce there. One thing that does just strike me is, I think, undulations in and around the greens. We can do more here, and you'll have so much more fun when you start playing with this stuff. And I think that's your next step. It's miles better than your CC course, and the CC course was good, but this is way a big improvement, as with pretty much everyone who's been in CC to World Cup. But I think your next step is going for that. It's a Corin Crenshaw template. We like these. For those of you who don't know, the Corin Crenshaw template is one that I adore. Yeah, definitely would have joined the fairway then, because you let people play as right as possible. With this one though, I think the camber's a little severe because it knocks me down to here anyway. You kind of want to allow people to get hung up a little bit more. But yeah, essentially it's hug a boundary line and play left to go left to have a shot down the green, or right. And the further away from that line you veer, the more severe your lie, which is going to pull you further left and make you worry about hitting into the water or whatever hazard is there. Oh, yeah, not. And it's a great choice for an 18th because it's really risk reward and heroic and all of those nice terms we like to throw around. So there we go. I really enjoyed that, and I was expecting to, having going in and seeing some pictures. Like, I knew it was going to be pretty, and from your previous stuff I knew the golf was going to be pretty solid to good, and it's definitely improving. You took some risks with this. Firstly, the plot being really big and bold. You've done that before, but I think this is definitely a different look for you and different style.
This is a good golf course.
Thank you, Rory. We agree. Where I think you can, your next steps then, I think one is bring that bold land movement into the golf holes and let that help you design the holes rather than just doing the bunkers. When you do that, I think look at how Bandon does its big movement or other courses along those lines. Go and look at what's the one? Shankin Bay, SHANQ, there's sometimes a UIN, would be brilliant. Matty, no, not Torrey Pines, bad Matty. Look at some of those courses. Look at courses that bring in bold land movement. Look at Golden Age courses. Look at Essex Country Club by Donald Ross. Like, very different setting, but look at how he uses land movement, and or some of Oakmont and how that does it. Like, those sorts of courses where they couldn't just bulldoze hills, they had to bring in a lot of interesting land, and you get some really cool stuff. And I think that's what this plot was crying out for, just a bit more quirk in the hole designs. Secondly, I think it's still bunkers. Like, come up with a style that definitely fits and like integrates with the natural surroundings. Planting was excellent, nothing against that. And there's some holes I really enjoyed, but try to kind of think, if you're going big and wide, that can be risky because it can just lead to you can hit anywhere. It didn't quite do that. There are a few holes where it didn't really matter so much, but you want to make sure the angles really, really matter, and there's a few times where that kind of got away from you a little bit. So yeah, that's this one. I really enjoyed it. So that's Group F all tied up. And Group F will be a really interesting one. I'm glad this one's finished first because I think judges will need some time on this group because the two going through from this, not immediately obvious, I wouldn't say. So yeah, we're going to be back in just 1 minute and we're going to go with Heisenberg's next, which I'm looking forward to. See you again in a second. I'm just going to cut and reload the stream.